Great. Well, good morning, everyone. This is Peggy West. You're coming into our new series webinar today called Coffee with the County. I'm really excited about this. We're going to be doing monthly or bi-monthly. We haven't set it up exactly yet, but these are going to be webinars with informative information about the county services. And we're going to start today with the Palm Beach County Animal Care and Control, which is under the Department of Public Safety. So let's get started here in a second. I want to do some housekeeping. Mention that you please need to put your questions into the Q&A box. We do record the Q&A, but we do not record the chat box. So if she can't get to all the questions today, she would not be able to get back to you. So please put everything into the Q&A. The other thing is this is not a CEU credit for the managers. So I just want to mention that. I hope you stay on or can stay on because a lot of this pertains to the homeowner association and the condominium association issues related to stray cats. The other thing is this is not a board certification class, so there are no credits for the board. But again, I hope you stay on and you get familiar with maybe how to handle a few things from the director position on your board. So let's get started. I just want to say thank you all for coming. I want to say I appreciate your time, your support by joining the webinars each and every week. Thank you to our sponsors, and I want to introduce all our sponsors today that are on today, and then I'll mention the ones that are out on appointments or couldn't make it exactly. So let's get started here. I'm going to start with, let's see. Let's start with Munyon. Today we have Shawnee Haas on from Munyon Contractors. Shawnee, tell us about yourself and what you're doing over there at Munyon for the associations.
Hi, everyone. I'm Shawnee. I am the marketing coordinator here with Munyon. We are a painting and general contracting service. We've been in business for about 75 years now, covering the entire state of Florida from Tampa to Orlando, Sarasota, West Palm Beach, pretty much everywhere. We offer services for both exterior and interior painting, as well as waterproofing and pressure washing. We also do general stucco repairs. A lot of painting contractors you'll find don't do stucco repairs. They often sub that out to other contractors. We do both here in-house. We also provide free estimates and proposals as well. So I'll leave my information in the chat if you'd like to reach out and get a proposal from us.
Sounds good. And that reminds me, I do want to mention again, I will send out a sponsor sheet, and it will have all of the contact information of the sponsors for today. So next, I'm just going to mention United Professional Engineering. The representative there is Siobhan Heredia. The owner is an engineer, Carmelo Giglio, and they do have appointments this morning. But if you need a good engineer, I highly recommend United Professional Engineering. Then I want to introduce who's on today, Daniel Baum. He's the CEO and founder of his insurance brokerage, COA Solutions. Daniel, tell us about yourself and what you're doing over there for associations.
Thanks, Peggy. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us on the webinar today. Even though you don't get CE credit, it's definitely an interesting topic, I think, for all of us, especially for associations who are dealing with the challenge of stray animals. Definitely can create concerns and potential claims, especially liability claims that could come through, something you definitely want to be aware of. So understanding how to deal with it is a very useful use of your time. Yeah, I don't have much more to add, but you're going to get some great education. You're going to learn something new that you probably haven't heard from Peggy and myself and the other sponsors before, which is always a nice new concept to learn. Thank you to Officer Black for joining us today. I wish you all a wonderful webinar, and I hope you get a lot out of it. And please join us for the next ones. We're hoping to do this as a series to bring you guys some greater education across multiple fronts.
Thank you so much, Daniel. Okay, great. All right, next I'm going to mention Hafer. They're a CPA service. As you can imagine, especially today and tomorrow, they're extremely busy with tax work. And we will probably see Nicole your contact there probably somewhere along mid-May, maybe June, hopefully. She'll be out from the papers. But Nicole Johnson, she is the partner and the COO over operations for the firm. And they do have 4 offices around the state, very reputable. If you need someone to help you with your audits and so on, highly recommend Hafer. Next, I want to mention the Paving Lady. This is a long-time company now. I think now they've probably been in business over 40 years, or at least have that much experience with the new owner, Mario Camucci. The representative, though, is Dawn Miller. Dawn is available if you need an appointment or a bid for paving for your community. Then we have First Citizens Bank. Jamie Gelfand is the vice president there for community services. Feel free to reach out to her if you want some new information. They're doing a lot of loan offerings. So if you need a loan, getting ready in preparation for hurricanes, etc., Jamie would be the one to contact. Then we have PD Concrete. PD has been around for over 20 years as well. They are concrete restoration specialists. Highly recommend them, because they have a great reputation, fully insured and licensed. We also have City Quiet Windows and Doors. Ben Friedman is the president, very involved and active in his company, again with 4 offices around mainly South Florida over to the West Coast. We also have Velocity Services Group. Velocity has been around for over 50 years. They are a large loss restoration company. I hope that all of you take advantage of his free service that he offers, where he will come out to your community. He will do an overview using the drones, and he does a complete layout and leaves you with information that you can store in the cloud in case of an emergency and you need to refer to your insurance paperwork, your property pictures, photos, etc. Then we have Faster.io. Bob Aleka is the representative there. He's the vice president for community services. And also Mike Zirin, he is the vice president for marketing. So those two together can get to you to talk about some streaming products that are extremely nice to have. You can take them with you. You don't have to stay in Florida. If you go back home to your hometown in Michigan or New York, New Jersey, wherever you're traveling, you can take Faster.io with you. Then we have Clarkson and Varick. Clarkson is full service elevator consulting company. Okay, elevator consulting. So if you get ready to do any new installations, especially, you would want to refer to, Damaris Cabrera. So we also have Best Roofing on. Is Best Roofing on today? I can't see on my photo here if anybody from Best Roofing is on. They are primarily South Florida up through about Central Florida, but they do East and West Coast of Florida. Best Roofing, again, has been around for about 50 years or more, and very interested in giving a free bid to you if you need roofing. The contact there is Diana Olert or Cameron. Next, we have Kaiser Air Conditioning. Kaiser is a longtime service company with some new owners, relatively new owners, last couple of years. They have a couple of offices mainly on the East Coast in Palm Beach County, and they are servicing 24/7, 365 days a year. And in Florida, if you need help with your air conditioning, that would be the company to call. They also service HVAC systems, and they do replace them. So if you're looking to get a bid on that, that's kind of a costly item. Reach out to Paolo Weston. And we lastly have Southwest Elevator Company. Brooke Cavender and her sister Brandy Cavender are always available to give you a quote. They also have another team member, Megan. She's also available, so their names will be on the sponsor sheet. And last but not least, I'm going to introduce Vinteum software. Vinteum is actually running my background for my IT group today, running the webinars. Laura's on today. Fabrici is on today. I can't thank you all enough for all you do for me. Laura, would you say a few words about what you're doing there with websites?
Yes, of course. Thank you, Peggy. Hi, everyone. My name is Laura. I'm the sales executive here at Vinteum. I thank you all for joining this webinar. And I just want to mention that here at Vinteum, what we do for our communities, regardless if you are a condominium, an HOA, or cooperative, we will work with you to build your website, your residence portal, so you basically have full control and ownership about everything you do in those two. We also have e-voting tools and features for your Zoom or in board meetings, for saving your documents. We will train you guys on how to navigate our platform, and we also recently added a really cool feature, which is jot form to the platform. So you guys, if on your community you have very specific processes or forms to fill in for any type of request for the vendors, for maintenance, for plumbing, whatever, you guys will have access to that feature in our platform now, and we will continue bringing more and new features in to provide you with the best solutions for your communities. So if you guys are interested, we'll be sending you our contact info through the chat, and I will personally contact you guys if you have any inquiries or questions. Thank you.
Sounds great. Well, that's good news with new forms or custom forms, customizing their forms and having those available. Again, a lot of you, if you don't know, you may be a new board member, you have to be in compliance according to the Florida law now. Condominiums, especially if you have 25 units or more, you have to have a website. It has to be available to everybody with your document storage on it. And you should also be storing your board certification certificates, and also anything that has to do with your community rules and regulations. It's a good idea to put those on there. And your storage of your financials and all of your minutes have to be stored now for 7 years on your website. So this is a critical piece of equipment or format to have. You also can reach out. Laura will give you a free estimate, and they are very affordable. Don't be afraid of the website. And they also walk every single board person and group through training. So that's awesome. And if you get trained this year and you need some more training in 6 months or 6 years, they're going to be there to help you out. So thank you for that. With that, I'm going to start turning this over to our speaker for today. She is from the Department of Public Safety in Palm Beach County in the Animal and Control Division. We have today Officer Catania Black on. She has been 18 and a half years. She's a specialized officer for cats. I'm very excited to do this service, to have this available. So get your coffee cup out and let's have coffee with the county. Ms. Black, take it over.
Hi, good morning, everybody. I just want to thank everybody for coming. I really appreciate this, and I'm super excited to be able to get all of this great information out to you. So like Peggy said, my name is Officer Catania Black. My position here with Animal Care and Control is I am the Community Cat Officer. So my primary job is the education and the enforcement of all of our community cat programs. I have gone out and spoken individually with HOAs. I can go out to your community if you are having issues, and those are all things that are available to you. But hopefully through this webinar today, you guys are able to get a lot of your questions answered, maybe things that you didn't even know. And I hope we can really educate you a little bit further on what the Community Cat Program is for Palm Beach County. So I'm going to go ahead and see if we can get this shared with you guys. All right. All right. It says we're sharing. Peggy, can you just confirm that we've got the slideshow up for everybody?
Yes, you're up and running.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we are, the Community Cat Program is with Palm Beach County. We are under the Public Safety Department, and today we are going to learn about TNVR. So we're going to go over what is TNVR, why do we TNVR, what is a community cat, some of the advantages of the TNVR program. We're going to also discuss Palm Beach County's policy evolution. We want you to see where we've used to be and where we are now. We're going to work on some tips for deterrence if you guys are having issues with those community cats. And we're going to discuss what are the laws and or ordinances for Palm Beach County. So what is TNVR? TNVR stands for trap, neuter, vaccinate, and return, commonly known as TNVR. Sometimes you may hear TNR, you may hear some different acronyms, but for Palm Beach County, we go off of TNVR. So the trap is obviously we're going to humanely trap those cats in live traps. We're going to do that humanely. They are then in turn neutered or spayed for females. The cats are sterilized. Their ears are tipped for recognition. And then we vaccinate them. We're going to vaccinate them against the rabies virus. And then they are returned. So cats are given sufficient time to, after surgery, we want to return them back to their original habitat. There's volunteer colony caretakers that continue to provide the food and monitor the health. It is the only method proven to be humane and effective at controlling feral cat population growth. So the goal of any community cat management program is to maximize the quality of life for cats, to eliminate the existing colony over time, and to alleviate the worth of community cats and cats in general through education and through awareness. So some of the public health benefits is I want everybody to really understand, we want to emphasize on the V for vaccine, because this is the means of protecting the health of the public by vaccinating those cats. We do want to also let you know that at this time, there is no mandate to revaccinate these cats. So a lot of you are probably aware, our pets, we have to take them in to have them revaccinated every year or 3 years. At this time, there is no mandate to have that revaccinated. But if somebody does want to have their community cats revaccinated, they can be brought in and we will do that. The lifetime of a community cat on average can be 2 to 3 years. So because they are outside and because of the situations that they can come across, so that vaccine is going to last them potentially the time that they are outside. So why do we TNVR? It is, again, the only humane way to manage what we call free roaming cats. These are cats, they're outside, they travel from one place to another. TNVR begins to stabilize the population by eliminating breeding. So these cats are being brought in, they're being sterilized when they go back out. They are unable to reproduce. So now you're going to stop them from breeding and have that population continue to grow. TNVR has been shown to control and reduce the population of free roaming cats. So if you have 10 cats and you get those 10 cats sterilized, the 10 cats are going to stay those 10 cats. They're obviously not going to be able to reproduce. They're going to be healthier now that they're vaccinated, and they're going to form that colony. Your population declines from no more kittens being born into the community. Which in turn will help the shelters because now you don't have that intake of kittens coming into the shelters. A large portion of cats that enter into a shelter are unowned. They're community cats that have no one to reclaim them. So if we bring them into a shelter and we hold them to see if an owner is going to come in, most likely those cats do not have a specific owner that is going to come in to reclaim them. There is approximately 2 to 3 million cats that enter animal shelters annually in the United States. So if you take that into account for the whole United States every single year, that's a lot of cats. So this way we know by doing this program, we're putting them back and they're sterilized, and that number can reduce because we're not having those cats continue to reproduce. An effective TNVR program is an alternative to decrease the number of impounds at the shelter and unnecessary euthanasia. There is no other effective alternatives. As Peggy said, I have been with animal care and control for over 18 years. So I've been here since before we had this program. And unfortunately, previously we had to euthanize hundreds of cats a day because there just was nowhere for them to go. So by implementing this program, we are able to save lives. Palm Beach County over 10 years ago went to a countdown to 0. They were trying to get us to a no-kill rate. So this program was implemented. TNVR is a nationwide program. It is all over the United States. It is in other countries that they are doing this, and we are just actually behind the game. So here in the United States, we're trying to play catch up and instill this program. The leading cause of cat death in shelter is euthanasia. So our goal is to provide the education, not only to our staff members, but to all of the community members. Let's just say everybody says, well, we just won't do anything. We'll just let them figure it out. The cats are going to continue to breed. If lack of food, if you take away the food, they actually start to become destructive. The cats and their offspring will become very ill. So now you have sickness, you have disease that is going to be spreading, not only for the cats that are outside, but potentially people's pets that they're now going to be bringing inside. So again, with this program, we're instilling that, making sure that these animals are healthy and that they're being cared for. So everybody says, okay, well, let's just remove them and we'll find a magical place for them to go. Basically, what's going to happen is that it's the vacuum effect. Feral cats are euthanized at the shelter. The cats are missed. So we think that there's 10 cats, but there was actually 12. We pull those 10 cats out. We find a magical place for them to go to. And there's 2 left. That's all it takes is those 2. And now those 2 are going to become 50 very quickly. So this is why we want to make for sure that these cats stay where they are. Also, if you do remove the whole colony, Miss Mary is still going to be putting out that food because she thinks her friends are going to be coming over. So what's going to happen is that all of the neighborhoods that are surrounding, because we know here in Palm Beach County, there's not much that we don't have neighborhoods surrounding us. So working as a community, but those cats are now going to turn around and they're going to move in, and Miss Mary's going to still put out that bowl of food. And all of those cats that are unsterilized from the other communities are going to move in. On average, community cats have 3 to 5 places that they go to eat every day. So if you think about that, that means that they're traveling from all these different communities. But if they're all sterilized, now we know that that colony is going to stay exactly where it is. If we don't have them sterilized, then that population is going to continue to grow. And as long as Miss Mary keeps putting out that food for them, they now have the resources that they are going to be able to continue to reproduce. From that litter, instead of mom having 3, she's going to have 8 kittens. And out of those 8 kittens, within 4 to 6 months, they can start reproducing. So if you start adding up all those numbers, this is where the cats continue. So by having them sterilized again, we're making sure that this is not what is going to happen. Everybody says, okay, we're going to relocate. Like I said, that magical place. Again, we're not going to be 100% successful. And unfortunately, there is no magical sanctuary. There just isn't. There is nowhere for these cats to go. I've seen it at the shelter. The cats come in, we hold them for 3 days, and nobody's coming in to reclaim them. If for some reason they are not friendly or they are not adoptable, which a lot of times these outside cats are not, the only option at that point is the shelter must euthanize. So by implementing this program, we've been able to reduce the euthanasia rate at Animal Care and Control. Community cats. What is a community cat? A lot of people say, we use the word feral, we use stray. Community cats can be all of those. Community cats are identified by having their ear tipped. Feral cats is a definition of a behavior. That behavior could mean that they don't vocalize. They're not going to come up to you and meowing. They're not going to approach you. They're scared of us. They may hiss, they may spit, they may growl. That's their way of communicating to tell you, please back up. I'm not sure I like you. They appear to be well groomed. Cats are pretty great about keeping their beauty up on the other side of it, no matter if they're inside or outside. They will not eat until humans go away. But again, this is a behavior. This is how these cats are. These are unsocialized cats. Free roaming cats usually approach people with food. They can be friendly. They may come up and they meow. They may rub on their feet. They prefer to be outdoors though. Just because a cat is friendly does not necessarily mean it wants to come and it wants to lay on your couch. They want to lay down underneath the tree in the shade. They want to go where the hedges are. They want to go out and chase their little lizard friends. These are where these cats belong. This is where they've been raised, and this is where they prefer to stay. They usually have multiple feeders. So not only is Miss Mary putting it out, but so is George and Sue and Ron from down the street. These cats know exactly where to go to get the food. They know at 6 o'clock in the morning, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, at 10 o'clock at night. And they're remarkable creatures. I have been out on calls where I've met the caregivers, and they do a little whistle, and all of a sudden here comes the cats running, because they know that that is their caregiver. Just like our own pets at home. Our own pets, as soon as we walk through the door, they're like, yay, mom or dad is here. These cats are exactly the same way. So the definition of community cats is that they are free roaming. They do not live inside of your house. If a cat goes inside of your house, it is now an owned pet. So that is where the difference for you and a lot of your bylaws are going to be for HOAs, is that if you have your bylaws and your rules and your regulations that pertain to pets, they are not going to pertain to community cats. Community cats are free roaming. They live outside. They can be feral. They can be semi-feral. They can be super friendly. Some may only be social with their caregivers, but they still require that outdoor living style. Some of the advantages of TNVR.
I have a question that came in regarding feeding the cats. Palm Beach County, they want to know, do you have a restriction against the feeding for the feral population? In other words, there's any law or anything specific, or no?
There is, yes, there is an ordinance, and we'll go over that at the end, but the ordinance has the guidelines of what a caregiver is allowed to do and where they are allowed to feed them. And we're going to go over that at the end. But if you have any questions when we get specifically for the ordinance, when we get to that part, absolutely, we'll go ahead and discuss that as well. Anything else? Any other questions? No? Okay. So some of the advantages of TNR is that obviously we have no more kittens, so they're not able to reproduce. The odors are actually reduced. So I'm sure most of us have seen a male cat that has come around. It is unsterilized and it starts spraying because it is marking its territory. The testosterone from the hormones makes that urine really pungent. So by reducing that, by neutering that cat, you're actually reducing the odors. You're going to have less noise. They're not going to be screaming and howling and fighting and calling for their girlfriends in the middle of the night. It's going to help. It is a natural rodent control. So these cats are out there. Not every cat is what we call a mouser. So a mouser is a cat that is going to go out and catch things. But it is a natural rodent control that can help you control everything on your property. And now you have that population control again because they're not able to reproduce. So at our shelter, we say return to home, which is RTH. We're reducing the unnecessary euthanasia at the shelter. We reduce the risk of the vacuum effect. Caregivers are looking for their companions. I can't tell you how many people that I have come across and they're like, I'm missing my babies. These are my cats. But legally they're not because they still live outside. So under the county ordinance, if they are outside, they are not owned pets again. But they're looking for them. They're making sure that, they have Fluffy and all of them are coming right along and they know where they are. We want to RTH them or return to home because it is their home. That's where they were born. That's where they were raised. That's where they know where is a safe location. And that's where they're being cared for, is at that specific location. So this is a great photograph of an ear tip. It is on their left ear. It is cut across. Sometimes it's at an angle. If they're done young, it is sometimes very hard to see. I have been out on calls where people thought I was a stalker because I'm out with my binoculars trying to look for those tiny little ear tips. But a lot of times, if you're really quiet and you make little clicking noises, these are the things that you want to look for in your communities to see if these cats have had this process done. If they do not have that ear tip, then you now have cats that are either unsterilized or you have owned pets that potentially are outside being let out. This is a great way because it reduces the stress from us having to retrap them to make for sure that they are sterilized. I can sit there and see these ear tips and know exactly what my case is. It allows us and the public to easily identify if the cat has already been TNVR'd. A lot of times people will not be able to see that, but that's why you can always call me. You can speak to those that are caring for them, and they should be able to provide pictures or some form of documentation showing that this process has been done. And this guy, he was like, I just thought this is a big old tomcat. He was running the opposite direction from my trap there. All right. So this is our policy evolution. So like I stated, for 18 years, a lot of things have changed. So like many shelters, we used to accept feral cats. We would hold them for the 3 days and then they would be humanely euthanized. The TNVR program was established in 2013. So here's some numbers to put the reality in for you. In 2013, we had an intake of approximately 9,750 cats, of which 7,626 cats were humanely euthanized. Once the program was established, that was that first year. 10 years later, we had 4,774 cats, of which 867 were humanely euthanized. So our live release rate for overall cats was 83%. And I just pulled this up as of the end of last year. Our overall cats that was released from the shelter for live release, we were up to 83%. A lot of people will ask if we are a no-kill shelter. A no-kill shelter is identified as 90% live release rate. So we're getting there. This is our goal, is that we want to get to a no-kill rate. But there are still things that, we have things that come in that are injured. We have things that come in that are sick, potentially aggressive, and we have to make those tough decisions. But our goal overall is to make for sure that everything is released back, that we get it back to their homes. So we've come a long way with our rate there. So deterrence, these are things that are humane that can be used to help deter the cats from coming onto somebody's property. Everybody has the right to not want to have these cats lying on their property underneath their cars. There's a plethora of things out there. These are just some of the things: different lemon oils, lemongrass oil, eucalyptus, citronella, cayenne pepper, coffee grounds. You make a pot of coffee, instead of throwing your coffee grounds into the garbage, you can actually take them out and spread them into your dirt. A lot of these things are great for that one little section that maybe somebody's finding a defecation, or maybe a cat is laying there. And then there are also things as, a motion sensor sprinkler, sonar devices. It can force air out when the cats walk by. We have to think about deterrence as just like us. So when I go out, I don't like the smell of flowers. I'm a cheap date. So you don't have to worry about getting me flowers, but somebody else might love the smell of flowers. Cats are exactly the same way. So we have to kind of figure out what's going to work with every single individual cat. Most of the time, something like a motion sensor sprinkler or sonar device is going to work for the whole crew. But if they figure out a way, I have come into a lot of communities where we do have a cat that kind of keeps coming. Maybe it still is an ear-tipped cat, but he's laying underneath that one person's property that may be allergic, and we want to help them to figure that out. So we can work with that community member and say, hey, let's try this. I can walk their property, see where they've had those issues, and maybe make some recommendations of some great deterrents that would work a little bit better. So some tips for keeping the cats out. Again, you want to make sure that you're covering up the cat urine smell. Good old-fashioned white vinegar. It's been around for decades and decades. It works great. You can take a little bit of vinegar, mix it with some water, spray it around the area. Textural deterrents such as rocks, mulch are great. I know with us here in South Florida, mulch does not last very long. It deteriorates very quickly. So if you are able to use the rocks, they don't like to walk on it. Cats are looking for places that they can bury. They want to bury their defecation. They want to cover it up. So if it's a rocky area or something that they're not necessarily able to do, that's going to deter them humanely from that specific area. A lot of times we have our wonderful sheds in our backyards that are lifted up off the ground. A lot of times the cats, especially if they are not sterilized, moms like to go under there. So if you're able to make sure that mom and the babies are out or any of the cats are out, you can actually take a chicken wire or lattice and wrap that kind of around the bottom to deter them from going underneath and hiding in those sections. We want to make sure that we're searching for kittens to confirm that all of the cats have left. So in Palm Beach County, we have different trappings. So we actually have private trapping, which is where your caregiver is going to borrow a trap. For us, that they do require a refundable deposit. They can use it to catch the cats and they bring them in. In Palm Beach County, we have multiple areas, not only with our shelter. We have Peggy Adams, we have Furry Friends, we have Barky Pines, we have Tri-County down south. All of them have been given grants from the county to help pay for those services. So if they bring the cats into us, all of the whole process for them to be sterilized is free of charge. We also have volunteers that go out through our communities that will assist with private trapping. We cannot recommend anybody specifically, but social media is out there and there is a ton of people out there that are willing to help if you need that trapping done. Animal Care and Control also does go out and we do hotspot trappings. So these are events that we usually do. We try to do them at least a couple of times a year, every quarter, where we actually go into a community that maybe has overrun with cats. Usually we have to have permission to be able to go on everybody's property and we can come out to trap those cats and get 40 or 50 done in a single day. A lot of times when you have people feeding cats, you may have issues with wildlife. So I know when the food is left out, you're going to have raccoons that come in. So we want to deter the wildlife by the cat feeding areas. Only do it at set times of the day. Make sure that all the food is removed at any time. Once the cats are done eating, all of that food is going to be picked up. For the health and safety of the wild animals, also, we want to make sure we're not giving them cat food because cat food is not great for our wildlife. We don't want raccoons or wildlife. We have possums and other things to habitate themselves so that they're coming out when that cat food is coming out. We want them to do their natural resource of hunting for their own food. Feeding in the morning can only help deter wildlife. Sometimes if you feed at night, unfortunately, because of the fact that we have a set schedule for our garbage, our raccoons are coming out during the day. It doesn't necessarily mean that they have rabies. It's just they have become accustomed to us. We are no longer a predator. We are a food source. So when they see that, they're coming out. So this is why we want to make for sure that when the cats are getting fed, that they are making sure that that food is being picked up so that it doesn't put that raccoon going, okay, well, here comes Miss Mary with my lunch. We want to make sure that that gets put up. So what about kittens? So our ordinance does specifically state that we want to remove any young kittens from the field. We want to make sure that we can get them out to get socialized and ready for adoption. We would prefer that kittens are brought in around 8 weeks of age. If they're able to, the kittens should be with their mother until they're at least 4 weeks of age. It is a requirement in Palm Beach County. All cats over the age of 4 months, if it's your pet, have to be sterilized so that we can hopefully stop this from happening. Community cats or stray cats or any cats that are outside are coming from us. We get a kitten. That kitten is now 6 months old. It runs out the door. We never got it sterilized. And now it's going to go out and we can't get it back inside. And it's going to meet up with a friend and they start a family. So this is where all of our cats have come from. We have started this. We allowed it to happen and they continue to reproduce. Those cats can reproduce up to 3 times per year, 6 to 8 kittens per litter. So it does add up very quickly. So these are some different stages of our kittens to give you kind of a concept. Pretty much right in the middle is about an 8-week-old kitten. That's about the age that we want them to come in so that we can potentially get them up for adoption or out to rescue, which again reduces your amount of animals that are in your facility, in your community. So this is what we were talking about, the community cat ordinance. So it is 98-22, section 35. So all community cats must be cared for on private property or with permission from property owner or manager. So what does that mean? That means if they own their property and they have their own, they walk outside and they're on their own property, they can feed the cats there. They do need to make for sure that they are picking up the food. There is no dumping of food. I try to tell everybody when they are feeding them, we want to make sure that we're only putting out enough food that those cats are going to consume. If you only have 2 cats that are coming, there is no reason to put out 6 cups of food. Community cats do not need to sit there and have food available to them all day long outside. Our own pets, we put a bowl of food out, they kind of munch and snack on it throughout the day. Community cats need to come up, consume that food, and then everything else needs to be put away. Now, I know a lot of our HOAs in our communities, as soon as you walk out your door, you're on community property. You may have people that are feeding in your community and it is on community property. So at that point, that's where I can come in if it is a problem, if they're leaving the food out, if it's something that maybe can we work on trying to find a feeding area that is appropriate. Can we move that station to another location? We don't want to, again, take away that food because now you're going to be creating a larger nuisance. It is the responsibility of that person that is caring for those animals to follow the ordinances and make sure that these cats are sterilized, and they have to put them through the program. A lot of times I have worked with communities and managements, though, where they decide to implement this program themselves. They have their own, employees that may trap the cats. They bring them in and they instill the program in their community to stop the disease from spreading, to stop the breeding going on. And again, that is something that if anybody has any questions, we can work on that if you are having issues with cats. Fresh water can be left out. We want to make for sure that all feeding areas are kept clean. Community cats are not owned. Again, they are not pets, so they do not fall underneath your pet guidelines. They are not their own individual pets. They are free roaming. There is no leash law in Palm Beach County for cats. So some communities will have guidelines that say any pet must be on a leash. So if it is their owned pet, then you could enforce that. But as a Palm Beach County Animal Care and Control, we cannot, because the county does not have a leash law on any cats. And they are required to be ear tipped so that it is easily identifiable to see that those cats are sterilized. So this is another ordinance that we have, which is under section 24, subsection L, and this is to identify trappers. So, and that could be anybody. It can be a commercial trapper. It could be a volunteer trapper. It could be somebody in your neighborhood, in your community that is trapping these cats. These ordinances pertain to anybody that is physically going to trap a cat. Trappers are prohibited to trap cats except for the purpose of TNVR. So if you are going to trap a stray cat, it must be brought in for the sterilization procedure. When that trap is set, we need to make sure that they have protection from the sun, wind, rain, and sprinklers, that they're not sitting out in the direct sun. They must have fresh water in the trap. All trapped community cats must be released immediately at the location they were trapped. So what does that mean? If you trap a cat and it has an ear tip, it has to be released immediately at that same location. It is illegal to remove or relocate any ear-tipped community cat. Because again, there is no magical place for them. That is their home. That is where they belong. Trapping shall occur 2 hours before sunset and 2 hours after sunrise. A lot of times if you hire a wildlife trapper, they come and they set a trap and they leave it there for 24 hours. That is under the guidelines of a wildlife trapper, and they are trapping specifically for wildlife, and they are managed by FWC. If somebody is trapping for TNVR, you cannot leave the trap sitting out during the day. We know what a cat can do in a trap. They're going to do the bouncing back and forth. They can get overheated very easily, overstimulated, and they can get injured or potentially die. All traps are required to have the name, address, and phone number on those traps. And those are our ordinances that pertain to it. I want to give everybody a high five for sticking it out with me. And if anybody has any questions, my information is up at the top. That is my direct line and my direct email address. if anybody has any questions also.
Okay, well, we do have a couple of questions that came in.
Perfect.
Yeah, so let's see. The first one says, and I think you answered this about the restrictions. Okay, the next one is, can you stop people who feed the cats by leaving food that is out to attract the animals other than cats, like raccoons in the common areas?
So I guess my question would be, are they putting food out for community cats, but it's being left there and the raccoons or wildlife is coming up to eat what's left? Because if they are, then that means that they're violating the ordinance by leaving the cat food out to feed them. Or if you have somebody that is just going out and feeding wildlife, that is also a different ordinance, but it is a violation. So you can file a complaint with us.
Yeah, sometimes I think they eat with the cats. You know, I've seen that happen.
And that is part of it. So we want to try to deter the raccoons from coming. It is the responsibility of the caregiver to make for sure that those raccoons are not coming up. It can sometimes, it's a safety issue. You know, raccoons can carry rabies virus, and we want to make sure that our caregivers and our cats are safe as well.
Sure. I don't understand this question, but I'll read it. It says, has an L or R tipping side been standardized in Florida? I guess that's left or right.
Left or right. So for Palm Beach County, it's the left. There hasn't been anything standardized or mandated from the state of Florida at this time. Typically, it's always the left here. The only difference that I have ever seen is if it was a tip or if it was a V, which is the cut that's actually in the middle. But in Palm Beach County, we only use the tip across.
Okay. Is there a bulk cost for ID chipping of feral and rescued cats so it returns to the location trapped considered feasible?
So every cat that comes in to us is microchipped to the location that it was trapped. We don't do a bulk. It goes for each individual. So I'm not sure what cost of ID chipping.
Okay. Okay, can a community request for your experience or mandate that cats are spayed and neutered?
Absolutely, because you can enforce the county ordinance. So under the county ordinance, all cats over the age of 4 months are to be sterilized. The only cats that are not mandated to be sterilized, even if these are their pets, is if they actually have a hobby breeder's permit, which I believe at this time, we may have 1 or 2 people in the entire county that actually have a permit that states that they can breed their cats. Other than that, if they do not have a permit, they are mandated at 4 months of age to have those cats sterilized if they're their own pets.
Okay.
Now, if they're community cats, then it's mandated underneath that ordinance. And if you have any issues, you can always contact us, file a complaint, and then we can move forward.
Okay, and I don't know if you did answer this earlier, but I'll ask it again. Is there a deterrent to help stopping the cats to spay at the front door?
From spraying at the front door? So again, you could use, like some of the different oils that we talked about, lemongrass, lavender oil. It depends on how your front door is specifically set up. If you have a little garden area, you can actually plant some things in there. We have to remember with sprays, powders, anything like that, in amazing South Florida, we know it's 100 degrees 1 minute, and then it's pouring down rain the next. So they are things that you do have to kind of repeat and make for sure. If you actually physically see the cat, or you approach the cat and you can see it, a spray bottle with water works fantastic. If you think about it, if it was your own pet and you had it in your house and you didn't want it climbing on your kitchen counters, a spray bottle, you're going to spray it, it's going to jump down and you're going to say no. So you're training that cat. It's the same thing with these outside cats. They're still domestic, so they can be trained. So a spray bottle with water or putting those smells out. Obviously, if it's by your front door, you want to make sure that you can stand the smell as well. You don't want it to be so that anybody coming up and knocking on your door. But it just kind of depends on how your door is set up with that list of deterrents as well.
Sure. Well, I know that you're from Palm Beach County. Maybe you can answer this question. I have someone from Broward County says, I have a condo in Broward. That has a small handful of people feeding the cats. The cats have caused massive fleas at the community common areas and around the homeowner doors. The board wants the cats out. No program, no discussion. They don't belong to anyone. Suggestions you can make?
So I would reach out to Broward County Animal Control. They do have a TNVR program there, but you'd have to find out exactly what their laws and ordinances are for removing them, or if they still have to be mandated to be returned back for Broward County.
Yeah. All right, here's one. Is it possible that Palm Beach County Animal Control put some notices on the roads and streets to be careful with the animals that are crossing the streets?
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have any mandates that we can put up street signs. But if you're in your own community, I have gone through many communities that have duck crossing signs or, please slow for our not only kids, but for the animals as well. So if it's in a community, maybe bring it up to your board that you would like to have that done in the individual community itself.
That's a good suggestion. Yeah. And the last question here is, do you provide loaner traps or just have them placed out by the county?
So we do. If you set up an appointment with us to do the spay or neuter services, you can get a trap from us. It is a $75 refundable deposit. It's just in case we don't get that trap back, we have the money to replace that trap. Peggy Adams also does the same thing as well. And then if you do meet with one of our great volunteers, a lot of them do have their own traps that you can borrow from them as well.
Yeah. Then someone's just mentioning that there are some drivers who have killed the cats on their property on the road, and it seems they did it on purpose. It was, witnessed by a neighbor.
Yeah, unfortunately, if that neighbor that saw it, they do need to call us. They do need to report it. One of our main things here at ACC is that if you see something, say something. We do have to rely on our community members to file their reports. And I'm not sure if everybody's aware, but we just have a great team. We have an animal crimes task force that has joined us at Animal Care and Control with PBSO. So something like that, if that wasn't intentional and somebody witnessed it and it was purposeful, then we have the unit that with us for Animal Care and Control for our special investigations unit. And then we work with PBSO to potentially try to charge that person with animal cruelty.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any closing comments? It looks like that's it for the questions.
I just want to say thank you guys for coming. Please use my information. If you have any questions, concerns in your community, we really want to get this out into the community to know about the TNVR program, and we're here to help.
Don't you also want to make appointments to come out where you would come out and do presentations individually?
Yes.
I guess is that.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, you can contact me. If you do have an issue in your community, we can work on that individually. I can come out and do this presentation individually for your community to also let the residents know. We can have it in person. We've got PDFs, we've got flyers that we can hand out, all of that great information.
Yeah. So her name, her contact information will also be at the top of the sponsor sheet. Officer Black, like I said, she's been around for a while. She's very sensitive to the whole situation. You have cats and, they do become our friends in the community and so on, but there's certain rules, regulations. So, and use your board as well to be, someone to bounce off. If you can't reach her, feel free to send me an email. I'll see what I can do to reach out to her. Before I close, I do want to mention some of the upcoming webinars that I'm going to be having and also some other events. First of all, on April 15th, ACAM, Property Management Association, is going to be having another 1 hour. It's a virtual board certification class. So if any of you are still scampering around that have been on the board more than a year, you need to get your 1-hour certification in. Look for their invite. If you need that information, let me know. I think I do have that. I can send it out. On April 17th, I have the Construction Summit coming in. We've got a great presentation by Epic Engineering with one of their very predominant engineers, Ben Messerschmidt. And we also have a construction law attorney from Ball Janik that's going to be on the panel. And we have a representative from Colliers. So it's going to be a very impactful construction conversation. On April 22nd, I have Will Simon coming in. He's the president of Association Reserves. Some people are still asking questions about reserves. Your reserves can change with your projects and so on. You have special assessments and things he can help you with. So take another listen at that, maybe get more familiar with reserves. Very detailed topics. So the more you can get on those classes, I highly recommend it. I passed up April 21st. There is a Palm Beach County homeowner and condo association show at the convention center. So they are having classes all day long as well. You can go online and see what their show schedule is. On April 30th, I have Best Roofing coming in for 2 hours. They're going to be doing a CEU class plus a panel on hurricane information, hurricane preparedness as it relates to roofing. So this is going to be a very interesting topic. I'm not going to say too much about May, except for I would like you to mark your calendars. On May 19th, I'm hosting the Hurricane Huddle this year. I'm calling it Huddle Up and Hunker Down. Let's learn some more information about how to get ready for hurricanes. I've got a keynote speaker, and I also have 2 panels this year. The first panel is new. I'm looking for presidents or board members that would like to be on a discussion panel. First, we're going to have that at 11:30. It's going to be moderated by the attorney Jane Boland. She's got a lot of experience. She actually was a former manager. She opened up her own property management company, and she went on to become an attorney in association law. So she's going to moderate this panel. I am looking. If you're interested, please send me an email with some reasons of why you'd like to be on that panel to just discuss general questions as well. 2 questions is going to be per panelist. And we are, like I say, focused on hurricane preparedness. But with that, I'm going to say thank you, Catania. Thank you, sponsors. We hope to have you again soon. And just look for the coffee in the county. Okay, we'll be doing this regularly. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.